Apparently, the Force is strong with this one. Hey everyone, welcome to Princess Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with my blind reaction, my first impressions blind reaction to The Acolyte, the new Star Wars series that recently started getting put out. So for anyone who's new here, for anyone who is just coming in for this series, let me explain. So a first impressions series on this channel, a first impressions reaction, is when I check out the first episode, sometimes maybe two, but most of the time just one, of a series, and I determine if it's something I want to watch, if it's something I want to react to in the future, or if it's something that I'm just not interested in. If it's something I want to watch, I watch it on my own time. I just give my own time to it, and kind of just go from there. If it's something that I want to react to, then at some point in the future, I will come back with more reactions to it. It won't be right away because I only have a certain amount of slots on the channel, and I can only react to so many things at a time. But this is a way for me to kind of get this catalog built up of things to react to in the future, so I always have stuff set up. And it doesn't mean I'm going to like the series as a whole, but it means that the first episode was good enough, was interesting enough to get me invested in checking out more, basically. And obviously, if I just am not into it, then I'm going to drop it. I'm not, or rather, it's not even really dropping because I'm just not going to react to it any further. It's not something that I'm going to put forth effort into continuing because it's like, oh, this just doesn't seem like my thing. And mind you, there's been shows that have given me that impression at first but have ended up improving afterwards. But usually if I'm not vibing with the first episode at all, then I'm probably not going to. So yeah, that's what a first impressions reaction here is. So like I said, we're going to watch the first episode today, and we're going to determine if it's something I want to continue to react to in the future, watch on my own time, or just something I'm not into. We shall see. But let's talk about it. So The Acolyte. I don't know the context of the story and everything with this. I don't know what this is all going to be centered around and how it fits into the greater lore, because I'm a very casual Star Wars fan. I like the movies, I like the Obi-Wan series, I've seen some of the animated stuff, but I'm not this super fan who's going to know all the lore and remember every little detail about things. There's going to be a lot, even from the mainline movies, that I just don't remember. Because, I'll tell you a little secret here, I'm not that huge into sci-fi. I prefer fantasy and stuff like that to sci-fi any day. There's obviously some exceptions here and there. There's certain bits of sci-fi that I do really enjoy, and certain shows or movies or games or whatnot that I absolutely love. I mean, hell, if you want to be technical, my favorite game of all time is very sci-fi. My favorite video game of all time, for those who may not know, is Detroit Become Human. And that's a very sci-fi oriented video game. But, like I said, it's more often than not that I tend to enjoy more fantasy stuff. And Star Wars is kind of just one of those things that I casually enjoy. So why am I doing this as a first impressions reaction? Well, I'm doing it as a first impressions because I'm not sure if I'm going to be into this. A lot of these live action shows don't interest me. Like Andor, The Mandalorian, etc. It's like I don't really care. I'm not interested in checking those out. Because even though Mandalorian has some great actors in it and everything. I mean, a lot of them do, to be fair. But you know, Pedro Pascal, and has a lot of connection to like the movies and stuff with Luke and everything even showing up. It's like it just didn't seem interesting at all to me based on like what I have heard of the story and clips that I've seen and stuff. It's just not something that I care for, that I care to check out. The Obi-Wan series I checked out because I really like Obi-Wan. And I really like Ewan McGregor. And that was enough to check it out, but I watched that on my no, I did react to that, didn't I? Yeah, I did react to that one. For a second there, I was thinking like, no, did I watch that on my own time or did I react to that? No, I did react to that one, I believe. I think yeah, because I think it came out around the same time as Miss Marvel, and I believe I reacted to both of those. Either way, either way. Um, so I'm giving this a first impressions to see if it's something I might be interested in. But there's another reason I'm choosing to check this out compared to like other Star Wars shows that have come out. Because I have heard that there's a lot of people out there bitching and complaining that this series is super woke. I'm hearing that there's a shit ton of people out there complaining that with this series they've made Star Wars super woke. And a couple things with that. First off, Star Wars has always been woke. Like, let's be fucking honest here. Like, it's literally an anti-fascism story. Like, come on. It'd be like people trying to say One Piece is going woke. It's like it's designed like that. Um, but on top of that, whenever I hear that right wing people are complaining that a series is going woke or that a specific piece of media within a larger franchise is like excessively woke, it kind of gets my ears a tingling because it's kind of like, oh, okay, so it's good then. It's something I should check out then. Like for example, with the new season of Doctor Who that's currently airing, there's so many people bitching that Doctor Who has gone woke when it's ridiculous because again, Doctor Who has always been woke. um, like in the newest episode, there's a gay kiss with the Doctor, and it's like people are bitching about it and everything. It's like you do know this has happened before, right? That the Doctor has shared a gay kiss before, back in 2005 with Eccleston's season. This isn't new. Yet people are just complaining about it now, acting as if it's like changed when it's like no, it's kind of always been like this. um, it's the same kind of thing, and I'm very much enjoying the new season of Doctor Who. And I, like with Star Wars, it's like I'm not like the most knowledgeable lore wise in terms of Doctor Who stuff. It's like I just enjoy the series. I've been watching since the new Who came out. Pretty well. Okay, I've been watching since David Tennant's era was running. I didn't start right away, but my dad started getting into it because he had been into Doctor Who in the past, and so I started watching from the beginning at that point. But David Tennant was already like the Doctor at the time I started, but I did start with Eccleston. I hope I'm making sense here. And I have seen some stuff from the old classic Who as well. Um, so it's like I have that kind of knowledge of Doctor Who, but I'm not going to remember everything. I'll remember a few things here and there. I'll remember certain episodes or specials or characters, but it's like specific lore, probably not. But I enjoy this series, and I'm really enjoying the new season. And I'm hearing the same kind of complaints coming from the Acolyte, and it's like, okay, I want to at least check this out. So, what do I know about this series outside of that? I know it takes place before the Phantom Menace. It's like set like earlier in the timeline. If you compare it to the movies and I think even the other shows, I think it's actually the earliest chronologically. I think it's actually the earliest in terms of the timeline. Which is really interesting to me because it's going to be interesting to see how like the Jedi Order and the Sith and various things are represented in this prior to the events of the prequel trilogy and everything. I also know of one of the actors in this, Lee Jun-jae. I apologize if I mispronounced that in any way, but Lee Jun-jae is a South Korean actor who is most known for Squid Game. I loved Squid Game, and I loved him in that. He was the main character of the series. And Squid Game actually returns in December for season 2, so that's exciting. But yeah, I loved him in that series. He had so much charm and personality to him, even as a character who was inherently flawed. It's like Lee Jun-jae's performance made us really like and care about him as a character. Really made us sympathize with him and want to see him improve and become better. And so the fact that he's in this is exciting. And this seems to be a thing that's happened quite a bit lately. South Korean actors who were in something really big coming to an American production um, for another like big franchise. Because there's this actor who was in Train to Busan who then appeared in the MCU in Eternals. I can't think of his name off the hand right now. But he was Gilgamesh in Eternals, and he was the tough father to be character in Train to Busan. Everybody's favorite character in Train to Busan. Let's be honest. But yeah, and now we have Lee Jun-jae from Squid Game, and his big franchise that he's coming into is Star Wars, which is also owned by Disney. But on top of that, I have heard that he actually specifically learned English just for this role. That he very specifically learned English just so he could get this role. Because he's a big Star Wars fan. And I believe I read it was like Han Solo, who he was always a huge fan of specifically. So that's really fun. I like that he's kind of getting to live out a dream here with this. And I'm excited to see like what he can do in this role. I don't know what his character is. I don't know if he's a Jedi, if he's something else. I don't know. I just know he's in this. And I've seen what he looks like. He has like long hair and wears a robe. I think it's a yellow robe. But yeah. I know there's other characters in this. I've seen like them through advertising and stuff. I just don't know who they are. I don't know who the actors are offhand. I'm definitely curious though. And sorry if you hear like some Discord notification sounds, by the way. But yeah, I'm definitely interested to see where this goes and to see how woke it even is. Because, sometimes when these people bitch and complain about a series being, like, super woke, it's sometimes not even that bad. Um, like, I think they complained about, was it Mandalorian, I think? Being super woke because it had Lizzo and Jack Black in an episode. and they were complaining it was super woke because fat people, also just because Lizzo and Jack Black specifically. And it's like, what, huh? And they also complained when like the one actress, I can't think of her name right now for the life of me. I believe her character's name was Cara Dunn or something like that. But they took her out of the series because, you know, the actress is a horrific piece of shit. And they're like, oh yeah, we're not going to associate with that kind of shit. And people complained that the series was woke because just because they, you know, took out a problematic actress. Which, I mean, I guess there's more to stand on than with the other thing, but still. I really do apologize. I keep hearing, like, my headphones are, like, right here. I keep hearing the notification sounds. I apologize for that. I don't know, like, who is, like, going crazy on the notifications right now, but might have to mute something there. But yeah, I'm definitely curious to see how quote-unquote woke it is. But for the time being, we are going to get this started. And before we do, I do want to remind you all that we have a lot of awesome content to check out on the channel. We have a plethora of just fantastic series reactions every day, Monday through Friday. And on Mondays, we also very specifically have YouTube reactions, or at least YouTube adjacent. Shorts, specials, mini-series that don't have enough going on for it, or actually something from YouTube once in a while. Basically anything that doesn't quite fit into a full series reaction or a movie reaction. And speaking of the latter, we have movie reactions every Saturday and Sunday. They're pre-recorded during the week, but uploaded on the weekend, so that every day kind of has some kind of reaction content going on for it. We're also currently going through a couple Let's Plays on the channel. On Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, we are playing through Spider-Man 2, and very much enjoying it. I'm loving this game. It's a lot of fun. But if you're new to checking it out, I do want to warn you that parts 1 through 9, especially 5 through 9, have some notable audio issues, mostly centered around audio sync. This is my first time that I've been doing a Let's Play via the PS5, via a capture card, and so there's a few things I had to get figured out early on, and parts 5 through 9 are like my second recording session with it, and I messed something up, and it caused some notable issues. But starting on part 10 and in the entire rest of the playthrough, it should be good. I got it figured out, and I've not come across any more issues since, especially to that degree. So most of the playthrough will be all good. It's just that early portion that has some issues. But it's still a blast either way, and still an absolutely fantastic game. We're also currently playing through Anno Mutationum on Saturdays. This is a donation reward Let's Play for Matthew Vasquez. And if you want to know how to donate for a future PS5 Let's Play, there's a video on the channel you should check out. Go to the search bar on the channel and search up June Double Reward Month PS5, and it should lead you to the video really easily, and that will tell you exactly what you need to do in order to donate for a future Let's Play. Should be pretty simple, shouldn't have any issues. But if you do, you can also contact me in the comments below via a private message on Discord or other social media. That being said, though, thank you all so much for tuning in, and let us get this going. So, when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction because, yes, we do redirect all reactions on this channel. You know how YouTube's copyright system is. It's pretty shitty. So, to avoid any possible issues such as channel strikes or even worse, a channel termination, which I have unfortunately dealt with in the past and don't want to deal with again, to deal with that, we push all the reactions to another site. I understand you don't want to have to click through all these extra links just to get to the reaction, but it's only one. you just have to go down to the description below, click the single link, and it takes you right to the video. And on the upside, it does mean that all of you, yes, every single one of you, gets to see the full, unedited reaction completely free. No paywalls, no Patreon, and you don't even have to sync up your own copy. It's just there in the video. You just, like I said, click the link, go to the page, and it's right there. And that's pretty cool, because not every reaction channel can get away with doing that for some various valid reasons. But I do pride myself on being a channel that is able to give that to you. And I hope that you are really excited about getting to see all shows, movies, etc. reactions in their entirety. And after you watch the reaction, you can come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts. And will not only contain spoilers to the episode, but also just my general thoughts on it and various things like that. Things related to the channel, maybe. It's always worth checking out. So, all of that being said, thank you once again so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So I looked up Amandla Stenberg, the actress who played Osha and May in this. And she was Rue in the Hunger Games, as well as Spider-Bite in Across the Spider-Verse. So those are the two things I kind of know her for. In terms of her looking familiar, it's definitely because of Hunger Games. I've seen that movie 3-4 times, something like that. The first one. And so yeah, I would recognize her from that for sure. But yeah, she was also in Across the Spider-Verse in terms of more recent voice roles, so that's pretty cool. And obviously, like I said, I know Lee Jun-jae, sorry, from Squid Game. So I'm a little confused on something here. And maybe you guys can clarify in the comments, as long as there are no spoilers. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I am going to be continuing this. I'm just thinking it through as we continue these afterthoughts, whether I'm going to actually react to it or watch it on my own time. Obviously, I'll make that decision by the time these afterthoughts come to an end. And I'll let you know, but I'm not 100% yet. I'm gonna be thinking through it as we go through this all. So, but as long as it doesn't spoil anything, clarify something for me in the comments. If it is a spoiler, don't clarify it. We saw this kind of vision of May coming to Osha there, right? But that was just like a vision she was having. And I'm kind of confused. Is May, like, possessing her? Or did May just survive this, like, fire thing that she started back on their home planet all that time ago? Where it killed their family and stuff? It supposedly killed all of Osha's family, but did her sister survive it? And Osha's just being blamed for it because everyone thought her sister was dead and they're, identical twins. Is it just a mistaken identity case of twin thing? Or is she like... Because I'm watching this and I'm talking about, like, this entire idea of, like, forced possession and stuff, which I don't, again, even know if that's a thing. And I'm thinking, like, she's being possessed by, like, this spirit of her sister or something. But then, at the end, she's like, May is alive. And so it's like, you mean literally alive? Or do you mean, like, alive inside of you? Because I'm still, like, that's what I had been thinking this entire time. And it's like, I kind of was thrown into question there. Because if she's still alive, then the one we see at the end is obviously May. You can tell because of the way she's presented. And there's this like figure speaking to her from this cliff who very much looks like a creepy dark side Sith dude. Um and the thing is, it said this took place what, 100 years before the events of the main series. I think it said something like that. Um and in the I believe it was in Phantom Menace, I think that they said like there's always two Sith, no more, no less, always a master and a pupil. So if the acolyte, if May is the pupil, then this guy would be the master, right? That's just, logical to assume. Makes me wonder. I'm like trying to like think if we may know who this person is, this master. There's a couple like names that I've heard and everything in the past. I don't know, like what was it? Darth Pelagius the Wise or something like that. Something like that. The story that Palpatine told Anakin and everything. Could this? But I don't know. I don't know because I don't know how the timeline with that story works comparative to the prequel trilogy. I don't know like when that story took place and all comparatively. I don't know. I'm just going through things. Like I said before, I'm not like a big like pro under. I don't like exceptionally well understand all the lore and remember all the lore. I'm just kind of going with what I might know. But yeah, if it's a spoiler on the entire thing with May, don't tell me. But if it's just like, oh, I just somehow really badly misunderstood and have been stupid this entire episode, and it is just supposed to be a case of like, oh, she survived, then let me know. Um, so I didn't know how big of a role Lee Jun Jae would have in this. I just knew he was in this. Apparently, he's a pretty big role. He's here throughout the entire time, pretty much in this episode, and as the former master to Osha in terms of her Jedi training, he seems like he's going to be very important to the story as it continues. And we can see at the end here, he's on Osha's side, even believing her about May. So he's probably going to be a continuous main character of this. Like Osha and May are the main characters, clearly. And it's kind of made clear at the end that the acolyte of the title is May, not Osha. So that's also pretty interesting. The question I have, though, is why does May want all the Jedi dead? Like, she said that when fighting Master Indara, right? And I'm kind of wondering as well, did Master Indara know that was May and not Osha? I'm kind of curious. Because I feel like if she had thought it was Osha, she wouldn't have been like as defensive and even offensive as she was against her. Maybe she somehow knew it was May. Maybe just like, force sensitivity and everything she could tell. I don't know. Um, but yeah, I'm just curious as to what the overall thought there is. Um, but yeah, we also have like a couple other characters here, another Jedi Master, and we have a Padawan with them as well. Seems like we have like a core group that we're focusing on. I'm just curious to see how all of them do in action and everything. Because the thing is, um, we we definitely are gonna have lightsaber fights and stuff and other kinds of combat here. But I'm also curious, like about something I believe I saw in some of the advertising, or I think I saw at least people talking about a whip-like lightsaber. I think it was purple, like whip-like lightsaber. I'm really curious about that. How that's going to come into play. I don't even know who ends up using that. I just believe I remember seeing like images of that. Now, I want to talk about something I mentioned during the reaction. One thing I did hear about this series, I didn't mention in the pre-thoughts and all, but one thing I had heard about this is in regards to the people complaining about it being too woke and everything. One of the complaints I had seen on social media and stuff was that the Jedi Order are being portrayed as kind of the bad guys in a lot of way. They're being shown as being like this, not necessarily the main villains of the series, but as definitely an antagonistic force. They're not the good guys in the traditional sense, right? And I've heard this complaint come from like various places in terms of Star Wars, before even. And it's the wildest thing to me because it's like the Jedi have never been like this inherently good force. Like in the original trilogy, the Jedi were basically all gone. They were kind of like these mythical space wizards because they were a myth of the past. A lot of people didn't even believe in them anymore, that they even existed in the first place. Um, and really, we didn't have much of any context to the Jedi in any way. We only knew about really two of them, outside of like, Anakin from the past. We only had Obi-Wan Kenobi slash Ben Kenobi, as he came to be known, and then Luke. Like, we had Yoda come in, but Yoda, let's be honest, is a shell of his former self and kind of crazy at this point. So, kind of hard to count Yoda in that kind of context to know, like, the alignment. You know what I mean? Because Yoda was kind of like a crazy weirdo during the original trilogy. But then you have the prequel trilogy that came out, starting with Phantom Menace, and it starts to contextualize things a lot more. And it started to show that the Jedi Order back in the day, prior to the events of the original trilogy and all, back when they were, an actual political force, they weren't great people. The prequel movies show that the Jedi Order were kind of fucked up and villains in their own right. Like, you have the arguments to make about whether or not they're better or worse than the Empire and everything, or worse than the Sith. And it's like you're just kind of like arguing around in circles in that regard, because it's like they both suck. It's like the American political system. It's like you have the Democrats and the Republicans. The Democrats are very blatantly better on a technical standpoint in terms of their beliefs, their ideals, the things that they argue for in terms of their politics. Their politics are better, but they're not good. Like, Republicans are just blatantly worse. They're blatantly worse people in terms of their political ideologies. But it's like, that doesn't make the Democrats good. And people are like shocked when like leftists like myself say stuff like that. It's like, oh, you don't like the Democrats either? Then who do you side with? It's like the American people. It's like that's who you're supposed to side with. The Democrats suck, the Republicans suck, but one sucks a little less than the other, and that's why I kind of vote for them, because voting for anyone else is literally a waste of time. And honestly, most of the time just ends up causing a lot more problems than actually doing any good. Um, but that's kind of how the Jedi and the Sith are. It's like, okay, you can say that the Sith, the Empire, all of that, the New Order or whatever, you can say that they're worse. Technically, sure, they're worse. But that doesn't make the Jedi good guys by, like, comparison. The Jedi are also bad. They're fucking terrible. They're pieces of shit who try to control people, who take away younglings to train them, kind of against their will, who force these terrible, stupid beliefs on people. Like they are actively the reason that Anakin became Darth Vader. If not for the way that they treated Anakin, he would not have like become Vader. He would not have fallen to Palpatine's temptations. He would not have become Vader if the Jedi Order wasn't so fucking scummy to him. They were so shitty. But the idea that the Jedi in this could also have that corruption, and I mean, I don't know like it how soon that's gonna come in. I think there's like 3 episodes released so far. But I can already kind of see the ideas of it. Like they're basically saying in this episode, it doesn't matter what they think about whether or not Osha's innocent or not. That their thoughts on the matter don't matter. And everything, because they have a witness who keyed her, and that's all that matters to them. They're not willing to look into it any further. That's kind of fucked up. Not to mention, we have one of the big things that was in the prequel trilogy, that the prequel trilogy kind of introduced about the Jedi Order at the time, which clearly was a thing well beforehand as well, we know now. The entire idea of attachments being a bad thing. One of the things I hate most about the Jedi Order, and again, one of the things that caused Anakin to become Vader, like directly caused that transformation. And the Jedi Order would put the blame on his attachment to Padme and stuff. It's like, oh, your attachment, your love for her is what caused you to become Vader. It's like, no, it was fucking you assholes telling him that his attachments were bad, that him having love for people is bad, that him caring about people and trying to, have emotion is a bad thing. And the ironic thing is, the Jedi Order were constantly like shitting on having emotion, shitting on like fear leading to hate leads to the dark side and stuff, and yet they show just as much fear and hate. In fact, for the most part, for most of the prequel trilogy, they showed more than Anakin ever did. Anakin only started to show that in episode 3. They were showing it the entire time. Their fear is why they weren't allowing him originally to become Qui-Gon's Padawan. Because they were afraid he would bring down the fall of the Jedi and everything. They're afraid that he would like bring forth destruction and shit. They were afraid. And they hated him. They absolutely fucking hated him. And you could argue it's like, oh, but then they were right because their fear and hatred brought upon this bad shit. It's like, yeah, because of the way they mistreated him. If they hadn't done that, Anakin probably would have been fine. Let's be honest here. Anakin would have been fine, and it probably would have ended very differently. Order 66 and everything else surrounding that probably would have not been able to go off as easily. The Jedi Order spelled their own downfall. And you're seeing a bit of that here. Like, you see Master Saul looking at the hollow of Osha, I believe it was, and the Padawan comes in and she's like, "Oh, you're looking at that stuff, but that's about attachments and everything." It's like, you can't look at that. It's like, oh my God, shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up, please. It's just one of those things that has always kind of annoyed me. And it doesn't annoy me from a perspective of like, I don't like that it's written that way. It annoys me from the perspective of like, it's just an annoying ideology to have, and it just pisses me off, honestly. It's terrible. And like, I once again don't know all the information and lore, whatnot, and everything about the ideology, but I know there's also something in Star Wars called the Gray Jedi, which is actually balanced. It's basically like, you're basically like a Jedi, but it's a balance between the light and the dark, to where it's like, oh, this actually is more logical and just more good, more natural, less of an extreme. Because it's like both the Jedi and the Sith are basically just directly opposing extremes of each other. And that's the problem. It's crazy shit. But yeah, there was definitely some stuff in this that was, I guess you could say, more progressive. I talked about how, like, people have said this about other things before, and it's been like, oh, it's barely actually progressive, and people are just making a mountain out of a molehill. And that's kind of what I would say here. It's like, it mentions that Osha and I guess her sister as well had like mothers. It specifically uses the plural for that, so it's said that they like had two mothers and everything, and that's pretty much it. It's like there's really not a lot of progressive stuff in here. I mean, this is just episode 1, mind you, but it wasn't really much of anything with these complaints. I think all the actors did a good job, and the action was good for what we saw. I'm definitely curious about certain things and how they're going to be integrated and stuff later on, but we'll have to see about that. So now it comes down to the question of, what are we going to do about this? Are we going to continue reacting to it in the future? Are we going to, am I going to watch it on my own time? Or is it something I'm not interested in? Well, like I already basically said, we can cut out that last one. I am definitely interested. I am definitely curious, if nothing else. So now it just comes down to, do I want to continue reacting to it or watching on my own time? Because I've talked about this before, and to make it clear again, those are very different experiences. Not only is it a different experience just watching something versus reacting to it, but I also, when I react to something, put in a lot more actual effort when I'm doing so, because I have to talk, I have to react to what's going on. And because of that, I have to usually put on a sort of performance of sorts. Um, like I've said in the past, I'm not like exactly acting per se. I'm being myself. I'm telling my true thoughts and reacting to things in ways that make sense for me. But I am still putting a bit of a performance on. Because, like, when I watch stuff on my own, I don't react in this same way. I just don't. So, yeah. I do put forth effort when recording a reaction compared to if I'm watching something on my own. So, it is a different thing. Do I want to put forth that effort in reacting to this series at some point in the near-ish future? Honestly, with me, who knows how long it would take to get back to this. It's always kind of up in the air. Um, my my thought here, it kind of boils down to, do I think I'm going to have enough to say? Do I think that this series is going to give me enough to say during reactions and during the afterthoughts and whatnot? Or is it just going to be something like, as a casual fan, I'm not really going to be invested enough in to be able to, or at least maybe not getting enough of it, I guess you could say, to go any further? And I think my decision is that I'm going to watch it on my own time. Because I'm not as big of a Star Wars fan, because I'm a more casual fan, the only thing that's really, like, hooking me into this that would make me want to react to it, let's be honest, is Lee Jun-jae. I like the lead actress, but I don't really have as strong of a feeling towards her performance as I do with Lee Jun-jae. Because of Squid Game. Squid Game was just so impactful and powerful to me. So intense and, like, 7 levels of insanity. It's just, I connected so much with his performance in that. And I want to see more. And I'm excited for Squid Game Season 2. But getting to see him in this... oh, excuse me. I felt that coming. Whew. Oh my. Getting to see him in this playing quite a bit of a different character is kind of fascinating to me. But really that's the only thing that would make me want to react to it. Like, nothing about the story is altogether, like, super investing to the point where it's like, oh, I definitely want to share this experience with everyone. It's more like, oh, well, this is interesting. I'm curious. I want to know where this goes. But I could do it on my own time. It's something that, I'm not like overly invested in. The reason I reacted to Obi-Wan and everything is because Obi-Wan. Because I was already invested in the character, and specifically Ewan McGregor's performance of him. I mean, that's like a completely different thing. And like I said in the pre-thoughts, this is why I didn't get into stuff like Andor or The Mandalorian or Book of Boba Fett or whatnot. Because it's like, I don't really have that connection. Even with Book of Boba Fett, it's like, I don't give a shit about Boba Fett. I know I'm like one of the few Star Wars fans that doesn't, but I have never cared about Boba Fett. I don't think he's that good of a character. I think people saw this character who's like mildly cool, and that's all they focused on. It's like, oh, this character is mildly cool, despite him not really having much of a character. And mind you, Book of Boba Fett probably gives him a bit more of that, but still, it's like he didn't have much of a character. He barely had any lines. He was barely even there. It's like, I've never understood why people were so obsessed with him. Obi-Wan, though, I get. I understand why Obi-Wan is super popular. It makes sense. But, yeah, I don't see it with Boba Fett. So I was never interested in that, even. I didn't have anything that really, like, made me want or need to see it. So I'm just probably not the best person, I guess you could say, to react to this series anyway. Because I wouldn't have, like, the most exciting input as it is. It just wouldn't be, like, my big thing comparative to, like, other YouTubers who are huge into it, who are massive Star Wars nerds. It's like, you give me something related to One Piece, sure, I'm more into that. You give me something related to, hell, Lord of the Rings, probably, I'd be more into that. But, yeah, even that, I'm not, like, super heavily into. uh, but yeah, so that's my decision here. I might do a review of the season once I finish it if I feel like I have enough to say on it. But that's about all to expect at this point. I'm not doing any kind of reaction series to this. But that's the point of these first impressions reactions, to see if it is a series I would be willing to react to. And it's like this one, it's just like I'll watch it on my own time. Probably watch along with some reactions and some other people's reactions and stuff, and just get to episodes when I can get to them. Maybe I'll talk about it on the Discord server as well if there's anything I want to talk about. So you could check there if you want to maybe look out for more information. But otherwise, yeah, it's good, and I would never like complain about how this episode was handled, but nothing about it really speaks to me enough either. So yeah. Um, I would like to hear your thoughts, though. So, without spoilers, obviously, tell me what you thought of this first episode of The Acolyte down in the comments below. And before we close this out, I do want to remind you all that we do have a lot of other awesome content on this channel. Every Monday through Friday, we have a plethora of great series reactions. And on Monday, we also have YouTube, or at least YouTube adjacent reactions. Anything that doesn't quite fit into a full series or a movie one. And speaking of movie reactions, we have those every Saturday and Sunday. They're pre-recorded during the week, uploaded on the weekend, so that every day has some kind of reaction going for it. We're also currently going through a couple Let's Plays on the channel. Spider-Man 2 every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday, and Anno Mutationum every Saturday. The latter of those two, Anno Mutationum, is a donation reward Let's Play. And if you want to learn how to donate for future PS5 Let's Plays, go to the description, or not the description below, go to the channel, go to the channel search, and type in June Double Reward Month PS5. It should lead you right to the right video. That'll tell you everything you need to know on how to donate for one of these reward Let's Plays. That all being said, though, thank you as always so much for tuning in. Like I said, tell me your thoughts below as long as you don't leave spoilers. And for now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.